Ritesh Singholia is standing in a manhole. He is up to his waist in grey sewage, a mixture of waste from toilets and kitchens, as he tries to unclog a sewer pipe in a housing complex in the northern suburbs of Mumbai. He scoops out sludge with his bare hands. It contains human excrement, soiled sanitary pads, even razor blades, which sometimes cut him. He usually bathes at least twice at the end of a day's work to wash off the stench. I don't feel like doing this, says the 19-year-old, but I have to. Poor and uneducated. He's been doing this job since he was 7 years old.
The occupation of sanitation work is intrinsically integrated with caste in India. It is mainly the Dalits in India who work as sanitation workers, as manual scavengers, cleaners of drains, as garbage collectors and sweeper of roads. It was estimated in 2019 that between 40 to 60% of the 60 lakh household of Dalit subcaste are engaged in sanitation work. The most common Dalit caste performing sanitation work is the Valmiki caste.
Singholia is one of nearly 200,000 Indians, most of them belonging to lower castes, employed in sanitation work. The government calls them manual scavengers, people who clean latrines and sewers. In India, only a third of all urban households are connected to a piped sewer system. About 80% of sewage from Indian cities goes untreated. For some, it is the most nauseating thing to do. For others, it's the only way to make a living. From drains and sewers to septic tanks and railway tracks, more than 500,000 manual scavengers across the country are cleaning, carrying, and disposing of human excreta and everything else that we flush down the toilet. They force themselves into choked sewers and septic tanks, hang on for hours, scooping out filth with bare hands and bearing the stench of sewage.
There is evidence of the existence of toilets with a water seal in the civilization of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. These cities had toilets which were connected to an underground drainage system lined with burnt clay bricks. The practice of manual scavenging in India dates back to ancient times. According to the contents of the sacred scriptures and other literature, scavenging by some specific castes of India has existed since the beginning of civilization. One of the 15 duties of slaves enumerated in the Naradiya Samhita was of manual scavenging. This continues during the Buddhist and Maurya period also. Jahangir built a public toilet at Talwar, 120 kilometers away from Delhi, for 100 families in 1556 AD. Not much documentary evidence exists about its maintenance.
Scholars have suggested that the Mughal women with parda required enclosed toilets that needed to be scavenged. It is pointed out that the Bhangis share some of the clan names with Rajput, and propose that the Bhangis are descendants of those captured in wars. There are many legends about the origin of Bhangis who have traditionally served as manual scavengers. One of them, associated with the Lal Begi Bhangis, describes the origin of Bhangis from Mehtar. Municipal records from 1870 show that the British organized municipalities in India which built roads, parks, public toilets, etc. The British administrators organized systems for the removal of fecal sludge and employed Bhangis.
Legislation: The Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrines Act 1993. After 6 states passed resolutions requesting the central government to frame a law, the Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrines Act 1993, drafted by the Ministry of Urban Development under the Narasimha Rao government, was passed by Parliament in 1993. The Employment of Manual Scavengers and Construction of Dry Latrines Act 1993 punishes the employment of scavengers or the construction of dry non-flush latrines with imprisonment for up to 1 year or a fine of 2,000 rupees. No convictions were obtained under the law during the 20 years it was in force.
The Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Act 2013 or MS Act 2013. Government passed the new legislation in September 2013 and issued government notification for the same. In December 2013, government had also formulated Rules 2013 known as the Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers and their Rehabilitation Rules 2013 or MS Rules 2013. The details of the Act and rules are published on the website of Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. The broad objectives of the Act are to eliminate unsanitary latrines, prohibit the employment of manual scavengers, the hazardous manual cleaning of the sewer and septic tanks, and to maintain a survey of the manual scavengers and their rehabilitation.
In India in 1970s, Vindeshwar Pathak introduced his Sulabh concept for building and managing public toilets in India, which has introduced hygienic and well-managed public toilet systems. Activist Bezada Wilson founded a group in 1994, Safai Karamchari Andolan, to campaign for the demolition of then nearly illegal dry latrines and the abolition of manual scavenging. Despite the efforts of Wilson and other activists, the practice persists 2 decades later. In July 2008, Mission Sanitation was a fashion show held by the United Nations as a part of International Year of Sanitation. On the runway were 36 previous workers called scavengers and top models to help bring awareness of the issue of manual scavenging. The Movement for Scavenger Community is an NGO founded in 2009 by Vimal Kumar with young people, social activists, and like-minded people from the scavenger community. MSC is committed to working towards the social and economic empowerment for the scavenger community through the medium of education. The Campaign for Dignity, that is Garima Abhiyan, in Madhya Pradesh in India has assisted more than 20,000 women to stop doing manual scavenging as an occupation.
According to Socio-Economic Caste Census 2011, more than 180,000 households are engaged in manual scavenging for a livelihood. Manual scavenging still survives in parts of India without proper sewage systems or safe fecal sludge management practices. It is thought to be most prevalent in Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, and Rajasthan.
The biggest violator of this law in India is the Indian Railways, where many train carriages have toilets dropping the excreta from the trains on the tracks, and who employ scavengers to clean the tracks manually. In March 2014, the Supreme Court of India declared that there were 96 lakh dry latrines being manually emptied, but the exact number of manual scavengers is disputed. Official figures put it at less than 7 lakh. Manual scavenging is done with basic tools like thin boards and either buckets or baskets lined with sacking and carried on the head. Due to the hazardous nature of the job, many of the workers have health-related problems.
मेरा पापा देश चलाता है, नहीं है नेता, लेकिन देश को वो चलाता है। वो डॉक्टर भी नहीं है, लेकिन रोग भगाता है। मेरा पापा देश चलाता है। वो पुलिस में भी नहीं है, लेकिन देश की गंदगी मिटाता है। वो आर्मी में भी नहीं है, लेकिन गंदे शैतानों से जंग लड़कर आता है। मेरा बाबा देश चलाता है। अगर नहीं जाएगा मेरा बाबा काम पर, तो रुक जाएगा इंडिया का हर घर। ना बनेगा खाना, ना होगा नहाना, सड़कों पे मच जाएगी भगदड़। बच्चे स्कूल नहीं पहुंचेंगे, ना ही डॉक्टर अस्पताल, मंत्री मंत्रालय नहीं पहुंचेंगे, और पूरे देश का हाल हो जाएगा बेहाल। हम सब की जिंदगी को आसान बनाता है। मेरा बाबा वो काम करता है जो देश का कोई भी बाबा करना नहीं चाहता। मेरा बाबा देश चलाता है। क्योंकि देश अपना गीला और सूखा कचरा अलग नहीं करता। मेरा बाबा कचरा, गटर और बीमारियों के अंदर जाता है और बहुत बीमार होकर निकलता है। कभी कभी लगता है मेरा बाबा बीमारी से हार जाएगा। कभी कभी लगता है बाबा लौट के घर नहीं आएगा। मेरे बाबा को बचाओ। इस देश को सिर्फ मेरे बाबा से मत चलवाओ, क्योंकि देश को देश का हर आदमी चलाता है। क्योंकि देश को देश का हर आदमी चलाता है।